Yo, what's up guys, welcome to my new pop gummy guide. Today I'm going to be talking about stuff like Hive comps, Beequips, and how to boost in this new meta. Also, only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed, so if you haven't, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And join the Discord server in the description for more up-to-date guides on the new metas. Now let's get back to the video. Now in order to run a pop gummy hive, there's going to be a few things you need before you can swap into it. First of all, you're going to need the gummy baller. This is extremely important as it provides an 11x goo buff, which also ends up scaling your goo conversion. This is also going to end up reducing the amount of overfill you experience, as your goo conversion can scale up to 100%. Now you're also going to need the gummy mask and the diamond mask, as there's going to be two hives that I go over, which you can run depending on what suits you more. Now let's talk about the digital bee. This is the most important bee in the hive comp, and you want to have it maxed out with all 500 glitch drives. As if you don't have it maxed out, then you're going to make significantly less. If you don't have 500 glitch drives, I would get at least 500 white and 500 blue drives before you consider swapping into a boosting composition. Now let's move on to the ults. You're going to need to run buoyant ults which have at least 25 gifted buoyant bees on them. Your ults are what end up making you most of your honey. So if you don't have at least 3 buoyant ults, then you won't be able to go pop gummy. I'll go more in depth on the specifics of the ults later on in the video. Here's all the stats that you would want to run on your amulets. I'll go over a few of these which I think are very important. On the shell amulet, you need goo conversion, as it's going to help your bag not overfill. On the stick bug amulet or the cog amulet, you could run pollen instead of blue pollen. However, blue pollen would be better than running regular pollen. Also, on the ant amulet, you could run player move speed or pollen, but it really just is preference and it's up to you. Alright, now we're going to move on to the gummy mask variations of the hive comp. Now, in this version of the hive comp, we're going to be running 12 tadpole bees, 11 vector bees, and 8 precise bees. Now I'll list off some of the most important Beequips that we're going to need in this comp. First, we're going to need a bee lizard, 2 paper clips, and a paper angel, as they provide the token link. We're also going to need a kazoo and 2 toy horns, as they're going to be extremely important for melody upkeep. Alongside that, we're also going to need a toy drum and a whistle for haste. Another Beequip that is required is the lip balm, as it provides a large amount of bubble pollen and gold bubble pollen, which is where you end up making most of your honey from. Now, you run these Beequips mainly for the abilities that they provide, but you also want to run them for any hive bonuses that they can give. As you can see, I end up running bee ability pollen on my toy drum, my paper angel, and my toy horns. This ends up being a much larger buff than just the abilities alone. Another thing that you guys should know is that on the whistle, you should try to get as much super crit power as you can for this comp, as the melody doesn't end up providing too much, as a 5th melody is less than a 1% buff. Some more Beequips that should be run are the pink shades, with super crit chance and high super crit power. You guys should also run a sweatband with high blue gather amount, as this will buff your digi a lot. And you guys should run either a peppermint antennas with high bar and high bonus bar, or you guys could run a bubble light which has high bonus bubble pollen. You also end up needing 2 more smiley stickers with the honey mark ability, as these are going to be extremely important for your mark upkeep. However, if you're not able to get these, then you are able to drop 2 vector bees for 2 carpenter bees and still run this comp. Next, let's move on to the diamond mask variations of the hive comp. In this variation of the hive comp, you end up dropping the gummy bee and the shocked bee for an additional tadpole bee and buoyant bee. The reason you end up doing this is because of the diamond mask, which ends up buffing your bubbles by a lot. So having the tadpole bee ends up being another bubble source, while having the buoyant bee ends up being around a 15% buff to all of your bubbles, because it's a unique blue type. Moreover, the kazoo, which was on the shocked bee, ends up being transferred over to the buoyant bee, so you don't really end up losing anything in terms of Beequips. One thing to note about this version of the hive is how reliant it is on coconut combo cycle. If you don't have coconut combo cycle, then you're not able to run this hive, as your goo conversion is going to be much lower because you're running the diamond mask over the gummy mask. You also won't have the 75% unique instant conversion that the coconut combo gives you, and you're also missing out on the conversion that it gives to your bag from the constant falling coconuts. So if you do not have coconut combo cycle, do not run this diamond mask version out of the Hive comp, or your bag is going to be overfilling really badly and then you're going to be wondering how you make so little. Now let's move on to the most important part of this guide, which is the ults. The ults are extremely important as they make you up to 10 times more honey. This is mainly done through the gifted buoyant bees in the Hive, which end up providing golden balloons, which end up providing golden bubbles for you. These golden bubbles end up making around 6 times more than your normal bubbles. One thing you should remember is to end up glittering on your ults, as this will end up doubling the chance of golden balloon spawning. Additionally, we're also going to be running 5 fuzzy bees on each ult for pollination, and we're also going to be running 7 tadpole bees on each ult for pop star growth and to spawn guiding stars. Now when you're boosting in Stump, you're going to have 3 ults and you're going to want to have them macroing kind of in a triangle-like formation, as this is going to provide the most goo coverage for you, while also keeping your balloon coverage very spread out, so you can get as many golden bubbles as possible. One thing to note is to make sure that all of your ults are full level 20 at the minimum, as this will increase the chance of golden balloon spawning by a lot, and will also make those golden balloons last much longer. Next, let's move on to some stuff you're going to want to get before you boost. You're going to get stuff like Wealth Clock, Puff Blessing, and Mondo, as it's just a free buff to your honey. Making sure that you have a max stack on each of them is gonna completely change your boost. Also, making sure that you have max nectars is extremely important, as the convert rates from every single nectar end up stacking up and helping your fill quite a lot. Stuff like your coconuts and your precise targets are going to convert much more when you have a maximum stack of every single nectar. Also, making sure that you have a high emphasis on comforting and motivating at 24 hours, since they end up providing the blue pollen buffs. And during Beesmas, making sure that you have max Robo Party and Snowflake before every single boost is integral, as it's going to buff your honey making by quite a lot. And then for something like Stickbug Blessing, getting it before a honey day is a good idea, as during honey days you're trying to maximize the amount of honey you make most. Okay, now let's talk about how to boost as Pop Gummy. Now, boosting as Pop Gummy is extremely simple. There's not really too much that you have to focus on. I'll pop oil on the ends and just grind and Stump for a bit so I can show everybody. Now, there's not too much that you have to focus on. It's mainly just upkeeping all of your buffs. Things like, precise marks, precision, and blooms. It's all extremely important. Especially precise marks. You need as many precise marks as you can. I try to personally get 3 precise marks on the field at each time, just so you can have the buff and so that you can build your baller. It's extremely important to have 2 precise marks like facing each other in the same line. As like, let's say I align to this precise mark and I throw it, you can see that it's not going to end up maxing out completely. They'll probably end up going to around 6 to 7x, which isn't that ideal. Yeah, ends up going to 7.5, which isn't really the best. Additionally, you should make sure you have alignment markers. As you can see, like using the period and comma keys, I'm able to align my baller, which ends up letting me throw it like either perfectly vertical or horizontally. Now, another thing that you're gonna need is micro converters. You're gonna need micros because if you ever get full and you're not able to throw out the baller, kind of like how I was just full right there, I needed to pop a micro through my baller. You're not going to be able to really unfill too easily, as you don't really have any conversion sources in this comp. It's mainly just your honey marks and then the coconuts, which I'm going to talk about next. And then now you also want to end up hitting as many coconuts as you can. Doesn't really matter if you have combo rotation or not, as you're pretty limited by how quickly your bag is full and like how long, or you're limited by your fill in your bag and like how long it's gonna take for your bag to fill. So you're gonna practically need coconuts, as if you don't have them, you're not even gonna be able to end up converting your bag, which is one of the most important things in this Hive comp. Also, going back on blooms, you'd want to maintain your blooms as you make everything practically from bubbles. And then as you can see, the Cyan ends up giving a 2x bubble pollen multiplier, which is extremely good. You make pretty much everything just from bubbles, so having the 2x bubble pollen is extremely important. Same thing with trying to maintain blue and parry, because blue is just like a flat 2x buff to everything. So even your smileys, which don't end up hitting for too much, will end up hitting for more alongside your bubbles as well. Additionally, on top of that, trying to maintain like stuff like violet, or like if you see like a gray for example, just grabbing it for the UIC helps as well, because it'll make your bag not fill as much. Yo, thanks for watching my Pop Gummy guide. Make sure to like and leave any comments you have, and I'll try to respond to all of them. Peace.